All right, y'all, come on in. I don't know if this win is going to. Hold on, y'all. Okay, y'all, come on in. All right. What's up, y'all? I'll give y'all a couple of minutes to come in. I mean, everything is moving so fast in the courtroom, so we got notes though, and I'll give you guys a little bit about what's going on. Um, Prosecution. Okay. Okay. What's up, y'all? Okay, so this is Joe Jackson with the North Carolina Beat live in New York City, in Lower Manhattan, at the Southern District of New York Federal Courthouse, where Sean Diddy Combs is on trial. And let me just tell y'all this: the prosecution is trying to lay it in on Diddy. Okay, they are trying to lay it in on Diddy. They are methodically making their case. I'm just gonna let y'all know straight up. So basically, what the prosecution is doing is they have a PowerPoint where they are putting up the what Diddy is charged with, like the RICO and the different charges or the different acts underneath the RICO, the racketeering conspiracy, or the racketeering statute, like arson, bribery, and all of this type of stuff. And they're going one by one, okay? Like arson. They'll go to arson and they'll tell the jury what the elements are of arson. And then after that, what they would do is they'll go through the evidence of what is being alleged against Diddy. And then they'll go back to the elements of the case, right? Or the specific statute, and they'll tell them such, this has met this such. You understand what I'm saying? So what they're doing is basically giving the jury the law, and they're giving the jury the evidence that they believe meets the elements, the evidence that they believe meets the elements, so that they can get a conviction. Okay. So I'm gonna basically just go over a little bit of stuff. We're on break now, I believe until 1:15. But let me just say this to y'all, okay? The government is, I mean, they are, you know, they're making a case. They are making a case. They're trying to make a case. And I'm just so interested to hear what the defense has to say. But basically, the prosecution stated that Sean Diddy Combs was the leader of a criminal organization. Shout out to everybody that's coming in. Okay. But listen, that's what I thought. Carolyn, that's what I thought. Just listen, but I'm sure the defense is going to come back. But you got to be fair. And I got to just tell y'all how it is. Okay. If you was on the jury and somebody was charged with racketeering, because you like to say, what's the elements of racketeering? Well, they show the jury first of all, what he's charged with, what the elements are, and what falls under the umbrella of racketeering. Okay. And I'll tell you all of that stuff in a few moments. Okay. And then they'll go through the evidence that was presented in court, whether it be text messages, whether it be testimony, whether it be audio. And then after they go over that with the jury or tell that to the jury, they'll say, based off what we just showed y'all, we've met this element. Based off what we just showed y'all, we've met this element. So the prosecution started their closing arguments off by saying that over the last 7 weeks that the jury had heard how Sean Diddy Combs was the leader of a criminal organization, okay, and that he doesn't take no for an answer, okay. The prosecution said that the government said he's into kidnapping, arson, forced labor, bribery of a security officer, in the brutal crimes of these sex traffickers. Y'all, it was so much, but I'm going to give it to you. So the prosecutors painted Diddy as a man who had a lot of money, who has a lot of money, a man who's powerful, a man whose inner circle, his security guards, his assistants, everybody that worked for him is. He was the only one that they were to cater to, only him. It was all about Diddy, and that he did not take no for an answer. And they went through some, especially, let me say this, especially about the video, and I'm gonna get to that. The video where Diddy was beating Cassie, uh, they went through how Diddy tried to cover this up to keep the video from, getting out. Like they really walked through all of that stuff. And some of this stuff, it was the first time we was hearing, okay? But the prosecutor said that Diddy did not take no for an answer. He does not take no for an answer, okay? They brought up 2 points or two moments in their words. They focused on a March 2016 incident at the Intercontinental Hotel. Finna had got involved with Cassie. Now, prosecution said that that video we saw was Diddy trying to drag Cassie back into a freak off. And it wasn't trying. That's what they said. They said Diddy was dragging her back into a freak off. She was trying to leave. She could not leave. And he was trying to drag her back into the freak off that they was having at the hotel. Okay. Y'all remember the video that CNN had put out? Um, hope you see. I want to be. We love you. Yeah, you. I love y'all too. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Hold on, y'all. I just want to give y'all the facts. Okay. Um, and another incident was in 2024 at Jane's house. Okay, y'all know Jane Doe at Jane Doe's house, where the prosecutors alleged that Diddy choked and hit her, and she tried to run away, and she could not get away. They are trying to paint Diddy as a monster, y'all. Like literally, you get what I'm saying? That's why I wish I was here in the beginning. But they are literally trying to paint him as a monster. Okay, they said that Diddy thinks that his fame, his wealth, and his power puts him above the law, and that over the last 7 weeks, the jury has heard how he used his staff to promote his power and that no one could stop him. Okay. They also said that a group of people, which is his assistants and his staff, and that their whole purpose was to serve and protect Diddy, okay, and that that members of his circle, his security, his assistants, everybody that worked for him, that they helped Diddy cover up these alleged crimes, okay, and that everybody was there to serve Diddy and only Diddy, okay, and they were to serve him by fulfilling his sexual desires, okay. Now they said that Diddy was the head of the Combs Enterprise and that there was an inner circle. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I don't know what the prosecution is going to do because let me tell you something. The FBI and the government is very, very tricky. I see how they sit here and they call oh my gosh, Christina, girl, I don't know if you're going to get indicted. The way they are painting Christina Corum, they're saying KK was Diddy's right brain. Okay. Um, so of course, they said that Diddy was the head of the Combs Enterprise and that the inner circle, Christina Corum, his bodyguards, um, and all of these people around Diddy helped him facilitate these alleged crimes. Okay. And the prosecution said that because the names changed does not mean that the roles changed, but they remain the same. Calling KK's Diddy's right brain. Yeah. So they talked about how KK would communicate with all of Diddy's girlfriends, how she would communicate with Cassie, how she would communicate with Jane, and how his security was always armed and ready. They also brought up a moment where Suge Knight was at a diner and word got back to Diddy, and Diddy then went down there with 3 guns in his lap. Okay, but when they got there, Suge Knight was gone. I was like, what? I'm like, what? Somebody, but Suge Knight must got word that, Diddy was on the way down there to his ass. Okay. Um. Okay. So, y'all got so many notes here. Let me get through these notes. Okay. Um. Hold on. So they started first with the count one, the racketeering conspiracy. Okay, hold on. Let me get some of this stuff together. Um, Let me see. Okay, so they said, yeah, so they was talking about how Suge Knight was at Mel's Diner and how word got back to Diddy that he was there and Diddy was on the way down and had three guns in his lap. How he was going down there to kill Suge Knight, but he was gone. Okay. Uh, and he apparently had went back with D-Rock, okay, one of his security guards. But like I said, Suge Knight was gone. Okay. Um, the prosecution said that Diddy's security detail is not a regular security detail. Like it's not a normal security detail. That these people are very, very, very dangerous. Okay. Um, they also talked about how the same people in Diddy's inner circle doing all of these alleged crimes was paid by Diddy's business, Combs Enterprises, okay? Which they say ties into this racketeering conspiracy because you have all of these people working for Diddy, all of these people doing this stuff for Diddy, and they're being paid by his company. You get what I'm saying? Which is where they're saying that the racketeering conspiracy is coming in and how he ran a criminal enterprise. Okay. Um, They also said that there was a conspiracy to participate in the Combs enterprise. Okay. They said that the Combs enterprise affected interstate and foreign commerce, claimed that drugs was transported across state lines, and said that Diddy forced sex workers to travel across state lines, for his free calls. Okay. They also said that Diddy knowingly and willfully agreed that he or someone else, well, excuse me, hold on. They said that Diddy knowingly and willingly agreed that he or someone else would commit to two crimes at least. Uh, this is just what the prosecution is saying. Okay. Now I want to read to y'all um, these list of drugs. Okay. Now they talked real heavy about how Diddy did drugs. Now let me say this, y'all. If you ask me, I think Diddy is a drug addict. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because while the prosecution kept on telling the jury, I mean, they gave a list of drugs. I'm about to give you the list of drugs. I'm gonna give them to you. So basically, y'all, it's windy out here in this cold. Basically, they were saying that D-Rock, KK, and Raheem. Okay, D-Rock and Raheem is on the security team. KK is Diddy's chief of staff. Okay, the prosecution said that D-Rock, KK, and Raheem had supplied drugs, and when they raided Diddy's home, they found cocaine, meth, ketamine, oxycodone, Xanax, ecstasy, Molly, GHB, mushrooms, and something called Tusi. Okay, TUSI or 2C. Okay, and they said, now this is why I feel like Diddy might be just a drug addict because the prosecution kept saying that this, just because he doesn't have kilos of drug and it's a small quantity, you know, that it doesn't mean that, he was not supplying drugs and that it's not distribution. Even because they didn't have a lot of drugs, like something that uh, a real drug dealers would have like kilos and stacks of drugs, stacks of meth, stacks of, all of this stuff. It's just basically small quantities that you can use for yourself. Okay. And I felt like that was kind of helping the jury. I mean, like helping the defense because they're trying to make it seem like that he was a drug pen and that Brendan Paul is a drug mule, but yet there's no big quantities of drugs. Okay. The prosecution said that Diddy used his security, his assistants to distribute drugs, okay, to Jane and Cassie, that he would have his security and his people bring him the drugs and he would give the drugs to Cassie and Jane and all of this stuff. Basically, they could not do a freak off without drugs, okay? And, you know, prosecution also said that Diddy uh, told Jane to bring drugs for the freak off, which y'all heard a lot of testimony about that if you've been following the trial. Okay. Man, they trying to make him a drug lord, but they keep on talking about, oh, well, it's not big quantities of drugs. So is it personal use? You know what I'm saying? Like they make it seem like he got a whole warehouse stacked with drugs, and he might just be a drug addict. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, um, so then they brought up this guy named Guido. Okay, now Guido is a drug dealer. He's alleged drug dealer for Diddy. Okay, now, you hear what I'm saying? They said that he was an alleged drug dealer for Diddy. Okay, and that well, they showed text messages where Diddy had told Jane to go pick up a Guido package for Diddy. Okay, um, so Jane, they showed text messages where Jane said that she had to go pick up a Guido package, okay? And they put up a picture of Guido. They told the jury, don't be confused about what Guido package is. Don't be confused about that. And they put up a picture of Guido, who the guy is, okay? And they said that he's Diddy's, drug dealer or whatever, okay? Um, like I said, I'm ahead of my notes, but like I said, they said that Diddy didn't have kilos um of drugs, but because he had a small quantity doesn't mean it's not drug distribution, okay? And they said that the claim that this was personal use of drugs is a distraction. Okay, they told the jury that. Prosecution told the jury that don't be distracted by the personal use. It's just a distraction. The defense is trying to distract you. Okay. Now they also brought up the kidnapping. Y'all, let me just say this. Can I just be real with y'all? Let me not get ahead of myself, Gerald. Not get ahead of yourself. Okay, we're gonna get to it in a minute. All right. So, so they brought up a situation about kidnapping in January 2009, where Diddy allegedly made Cassie hide in a hotel until she healed. Okay, after she had got beat. Okay, the prosecution says that Cassie could not leave the room for nothing. That food, drinks, anything that she needed or wanted had to be brought to the hotel room because her face needed to heal from all of the beating that was going on, and that she had to go heal in a hotel called the London Hotel. Okay, um, and this was because Diddy had stomped Cassie's face bad. Okay, according to the prosecution, and he made her go hide in a hotel until she healed. Okay, and they talked about how when Cassie wanted to leave, Diddy said no, and that the security also told her that she could not leave. Okay. Um, I mean, they're like they just trying to they're painting Diddy as a monster, man. And they said Cassie was trapped in this hotel for days and could not leave. Okay. And they said, remember what I told you, how they put up kidnapping, what the element is? And they said putting somebody in a hotel room and not letting them leave is kidnapping. We have enough proof that he's guilty of kidnapping Cassie on this day. You good? So, you know, so again, they are showing the elements of what they're accusing Diddy of doing. They're putting forth the evidence, and they're going back to the elements and they're saying, see, we met this. You can find him guilty of that. Okay. They also brought up the situation about Capricorn Queen back in New York City in 2004. Uh, Capricorn Clark. The government said that Capricorn Clark was kidnapped, and she was to come to New York and stay with Uncle Polly. Now, Uncle Polly was also part of Diddy's security team. Okay, they said that Uncle Polly had took Capricorn Clark to a building that was under construction so that she could take polygraph tests over about some jury or something like that. I kind of missed that part, but that's where it was going. And they said that if she did not comply with these polygraph tests, that she would be thrown in the river. Okay, that she would be thrown in a river. I'm finna get to that. Somebody just said something. Leave freely. Hi. So they talked about that. They also talked about a December 2011 kidnapping in Los Angeles, where Diddy allegedly came to Capricorn's door and was banging on it after, he had found out that she was messing with Kid Cudi. Okay. and that they were dating. So, y'all, my notes is all over the place because we had to write real fast because they was moving too fast. It's just too fast. That's why I'm glad I get the transcripts. So when he went over there, boom, 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 open up this motherfucking door, open up this motherfucking door, open up this door. We going over there in the motherfucking house right now. I'm finna kill this motherfucking nigga. Open up this motherfucking door. The prosecution, now they didn't present that to the jury like that, but I'm presenting it to y'all because that's how it gives when you read it. He's banging on the door, mad, banging on the door. Finds out that Capricorn Clark is dating Kid Cudi, right? Um, so then, yeah, we got to do better. So then, hold on, y'all. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. So they say I love what you're act out his notes. Hold on, y'all. Okay. So hold on. Y'all, I'm gonna give y'all my opinion about this. I'm just trying to give y'all basically where we at right now. Okay. Hold on, y'all. Yeah, I'm about to give y'all. Hold on. I just got a very important email and I got to respond back to it real quick. Hold on. Share the live. Make sure y'all share the live. Oh, hold on. I think I got that information. No, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was. No, I think it was. Okay, so I'm sorry. It was with Cassie and Kid Cudi. Okay, hold on. Thank y'all so much. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that. Yeah, Coco. Yeah, you're right. I got my notes a little messed up on that one. So basically, anyways, Diddy had found out that Cassie, not Capricorn Clark, Cassie, because Capricorn Clark watched Diddy beat Cassie ass. Okay. So, anyways, when Diddy had found out that Cassie was dating Kid Cudi, he went over to her house and he started banging on the door. And he told Cassie that she needed to go with him because they was going to go over to Kid Cudi's house. Okay. Um, so they talked about how she was forced to get in the car. She got in the car. They went over there. Now the prosecution is saying that all this while she didn't want to go, and this is what I don't understand. How is a man just telling you out of his mouth to get your ass in the car and we going over somewhere? And you still get in the car. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, if you could say no, you don't have to go. So, anyways, he made her get dressed. The prosecution talked about how he made her get dressed. She didn't want to go, but he told her, "Come on, we going over there." Okay. They brought up the fact about how Diddy was beating on Cassie, and how Capricorn Clark saw all of this stuff, basically just repeating everything that has been said, over exaggerating the evidence, y'all. Okay, and then they talked about how all of these met the elements of kidnapping. Okay, then they said several weeks after that, that's when the arson happened. After Diddy pulled up, that's when the arson happened. They said that Diddy set Kid Cudi's car on fire. Then the prosecution came back and was like, well, it wasn't really Diddy, okay? But let's be honest. Diddy was behind all of it. You get what I'm saying? And they talked about and showed messages about how Diddy was saying that the firebomb was going to blow up the car after he was out of town. And how coincidentally this stuff happened while he wasn't around and out of town, all of that stuff. Okay. Um, they said after the car had blew up, that Kid Cudi had wanted to meet with Diddy. And he met up with Diddy and that he agreed that he would not, he would stop messing with Cassie. Okay. And the prosecution told the jury after Diddy blew up the car, firebombed the car. And this is the crazy thing about it, right? They even had everything I just told you on top of the prosecution even had the nerve to say, although Diddy did not cut the hole in the Porsche physically, let's be real, he was still behind it. And I'm like, okay. So Kid Cudi wanted to meet up with Diddy. They met up with Diddy, okay? Kid Cudi agreed. And let me say this. Let me tell you what the prosecution said, how Diddy was standing when Kid Cudi walked in the room. They said that when Kid Cudi met up with Diddy and he was ushered into the room where Diddy was, they said that Diddy was standing like this, looking out a window. I'm sorry. Well, y'all can see me. They said that Diddy was standing like this, looking out the window. When Kid Cudi came in the room, like he was some type of, you know, big man. He was. He's Diddy, right? So, anyways, they also pointed out to the jury, after Kid Cudi agreed he would stop messing with Cassie, there was no more fire bombings. There was no more breaking ins. Because you remember when they went over there, the prosecution was saying that Diddy broke into the house, right? Okay. There was no more fire bomb. They trying to say that this is the proof that Diddy set this man's car on fire. Okay? Because after the car got caught on fire, now listen to this. This is what they're saying to the jury. After the car got caught on fire, right? That's when Kid Cudi was like, man, this is getting too far. And he wanted to meet with Diddy. And Diddy was willing to meet with him. And that was the agreement that he would not mess with Cassie anymore. And there was no more fire bumpers and there was no more break-ins and nobody was messing with Kid Cudi anymore. And they were saying that to try to show the jury that Diddy was behind this. It's circumstantial. You get what I'm saying? It's circumstantial evidence. That's what it is, right? Most of these cases are circumstantial evidence. Okay. Then they said years later that Diddy had apologized. Okay. Then they go into the bribery of the security guard at the hotel with the fight video. Okay. It's the bribery of Eddie Garcia. Y'all, I got a lot of notes. Okay. So basically, they just rehashed the domestic violence at the hotel, and they talked about the attempted bribe of a guy named Israel Flores. Okay, let's see. So apparently, when this video came out, Diddy had a stack of money in his hand. Okay, and he was trying to bribe Mr. Flores and told him not to say anything. Okay, and while they was there, Cassie declined to call the police. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. These people are asking you, do you want us to call the police? Do you want to report this? And you like, no. Why? No. Okay. So then they said that Diddy tried to do damage control by trying to call Cassie, but she wasn't picking up the phone. Then they put up text messages on. Now this is everything after the video. Then they put up text message of how Diddy was like, help me, the police here, the police here. I'm about to get arrested. I'm about to get arrested." Basically saying that he was just trying to get in touch with Cassie to make sure that she wasn't going to report anything or go anywhere or say anything. But they said that Diddy was a liar, that the police never got involved in this incident. Never did. They never did, right? So, but he was lying to her, claiming that he was about to get arrested and the police was here about that incident and she needed to pick up her phone and all that stuff. So they also stated that Diddy had also went to Cassie apartment beating on her door with a hammer. They said that he went over there and beat on the door with a hammer. Listen, the police can help you, baby. Tell them. The police can help you. Hey, he has all these people that kill people. Hey, allegedly. I mean, if you're going to go to the police and try to get out, you have to let them know what this person do so it can free you. You get what I'm saying? And whether the police find that stuff or not, obviously, listen, obviously, Diddy was more scared than she was. He was more scared of the police than she was scared of him. He didn't say, "Oh, you call the police, I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna do this to you." You get what I'm saying? So, um, So they said he went over to Cassie's house, beating on her, beating on her door with a hammer. They're just really like, they are methodically going through this. They ain't missing nothing, y'all. They're not missing nothing, okay? They're not missing nothing, okay? So they talked about how Diddy wanted the video, and how he would not take no for an answer, and how KK worked to get it, okay? Now they said one time KK kind of like me, okay? But I don't do the stuff that is being alleged, right? But KK called the hotel to speak to Eddie. Eddie told them no. Then she found his private number, and her and Diddy started talking to him, and they was able to get him, locked in, where he would, consider, being bribed allegedly, okay? Because that's what the prosecution trying to say. This is all a robbery, okay? So she spoke to Eddie, who denied giving them the video. Somehow KK got Eddie's personal phone number. KK, Diddy, and Eddie started discussing the video requested. Woo to woo woo, $50,000. No, first of all, after they started discussing what they was gonna do after they got Eddie's personal phone number or whatever to try to get rid of the video, Eddie had, said, I want $50,000. And then that's when the prosecution said, Diddy called Eddie my angel. And Eddie my angel was programmed in KK's phone, Eddie my angel. So that's why they started calling him Eddie my angel. Okay, because Diddy was getting what he wanted, not this video out. And they were making a point to the jury. It's not because it's going to look bad on him, it's because the police is going to get involved. Okay, so this is another part. Okay, they made Eddie sign an NDA. Okay, and that if he violated it, he would have to pay Diddy $1 million. But the thing about it is that they made him sign an NDA with Diddy's letter, like his business, Combs Enterprise, his business letterhead on top of it, which goes which goes to the prosecution's case that this is a criminal enterprise and that he used his businesses. You get what I'm saying? Because you're using your letterhead, you know what I'm saying, for someone to sign. You're using your business letterhead for someone to sign a NDA to hide a video of you beating on Cassie. Okay. Yes. The boss. Yes. The boss said $50,000. Okay. And I'm gonna get to that. They end up giving him $100,000. Okay. And Diddy told him to not spend it. That don't make no big purchases. Why not to make big purchases? Purchases is because it will cause a red flag. And people working at hotels don't make $100,000. And the prosecution laid it out that Diddy and his team did not want Eddie to get in any kind of trouble where he would have to be questioned on where he got the money from. Because if they say, well, where did you get this from? You don't get paid this much. Who gave you this money? Then it would go into, well, I was in a hotel and Sean Diddy Combs, beat this girl and they paid me. So they were telling him, don't make any big purchases. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, I was getting to that. Let me do my nose. Damn, stop rushing me. Okay? Damn. That's on the next page. And I'm trying to hurry up so I can go eat some lunch, but it's a lot of notes. Okay, so here it go. Diddy counted out 100,000 and gave it to Eddie in a brown bag and told Eddie not to make big purchases. And I just told y'all that. So they also, now before they did, and now let me tell you what they do. Every time they bring up a charge or something or an act, they'll give a basic description of it, and then they'll go into the story. Of course they'll show what the element is, right? And then they'll go into how they met this element and how you find Diddy guilty of it. Okay. So they discussed the elements of bribery to the jury and said that based off all of this and how Diddy tried to hide this video, that they had met the elements for them to find him guilty of bribery. Okay. Then they went into the sex trafficking. Okay. The sex trafficking elements. I guess I'm gonna be the last. I'm gonna have to go eat lunch later. Okay. So then they got into the sex trafficking, where they talked about how Diddy's inner circle helped Diddy traffic Cassie and Jane. Okay, the government claimed that Cassie and James was forced into these freak offs, that they were manipulated to these freak offs. And my only thing about this is that One thing the prosecution kept bringing up is how Diddy lies so bad, how he lies so bad, how he lies so bad, how he was telling people, you know, how he was telling them that he's going to do this, and then he turns around and do the opposite of it. And I'm like, well, why y'all keep going back? Like, why when people ask y'all why y'all keep going back, this is when y'all throw up this psychological stuff. You get what I'm saying? They knew he would lie to them. It's like, why would I keep trusting you and I know all you do is lie? Like all you do is lie. So why would you know what I'm saying? Why would I even like I just don't get that, okay? So they said that Cassie, let's see, says this case is not about. So they also told the jury that this case is not about grown adults doing what they wanted to do. That's what the jury said. This wasn't about no consensual. Okay, grown people doing what grown people want to do. Okay, the government said that. Let's see. The government says the two said they didn't want to do free calls, but was willing to try them. Okay. Um, Government says that the jury can find Diddy guilty if they believe they participated in. Wait, listen to this. The prosecution told the jury, you can find Diddy guilty if you believe that they participated in these free calls because of Diddy's threats, lies, coercions, and force. Y'all will catch that tomorrow. Y'all will catch that tomorrow. You'll catch that tomorrow on the replay. Did y'all just hear what I just said? Did y'all just hear what I just said, or did y'all miss that? These people said you can find Diddy guilty on the freak offs, not because he forced them into the freak off, not because they freak offs, but if you believe that they were only participating in them, because remember, everybody keeps saying, well, I said it too. They willingly, because they did, they willingly participated in this. But the prosecution is trying to sling it that if they did willingly participate in these, on their own, then you can find Diddy guilty if you think they only participated in this stuff willingly because of his lies, his threats, his coercion, and his force. I was like, what in the world? Um, then they talked about how Jane and Diddy started dating in 2021 and how she dated Diddy all the way up until 2024. It said that how Diddy, let me see, it says that Diddy gifted her and all the things that a boyfriend would do to for his girlfriend. You get what I'm saying? And I just feel like that if you're in a relationship with a guy that do stuff like this, leave the relationships. Why would you want to stand around? Like people get in relationships with people every day and then they leave relationships. You get what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's like, well, if you in a relationship with somebody and I don't like you smoking weed or I don't like you drinking beer, why I'm gonna still be in a relationship with you? You know what I'm saying? Um, so So they claim that Diddy started grooming Jane for the freak offs. They started grooming her, okay? That Diddy provided Jane drugs when they would have sex, okay? They talked about the first hotel night, set the tone for the remainder of the relationship, okay? Jane didn't want to do them anymore. She would text Diddy saying, hey, I don't want to do these anymore. She said that the freak offs would take everything out of her because they would last 30 to 40 hours straight. She said to get through the night that prosecutors told the juror that in order to get through the nights, Jane would be supplied with drugs or it would be surreal. Okay. They also claimed that Diddy made Jane sex with escorts, talk to other escorts, and do all of this other stuff. Okay. Said that Diddy always pushed Jane to do more. Okay. They said that Diddy did pay Jane's rent under agreement, that it would be paid for 2 years because she was out of work while she was dating him. Okay, so he was to do that, but the prosecution was telling the jury how Diddy would use these rent payments to, as leverage for the freak off. So, like, if Jane didn't want to do any freak offs, Diddy would bring up the rent or whatever. So then they played the audio recording. You remember the audio recording that sounded like a regular just voicemail where Diddy was like, you need to get on your job because you got me on my job. The prosecution told the jury that Diddy was basically saying, I'm about to because he said he was about to disappear. I'm about to disappear, but he was about to disappear, basically saying, I'm about to stop paying your rent because you don't want to do these freak offs no more. Okay? And I'm like, why is a woman dependent on a man to pay her bills? Pay your get your like, you have a child. Why is you out here involved in a man who's doing all of this stuff? He's talking about preach. Come on, I know that's right. You get what I'm saying? Why are you out here with a child doing all of this stuff in a relationship with this man to the point that you in agreement with, you know, a gamble of if you don't do freak offs, you won't have no roof over you and your child's head. I mean, y'all need to start thinking about y'all kids, okay? Let me see. Blah, blah. Oh, then they talked about how Diddy reminded Jane about the roof over her head and her beautiful smile, saying that Diddy had bought her teeth because he didn't like the teeth that she had. That she didn't like the teeth. Says Diddy, okay, said Diddy used the rent for leverage. They played the voicemail. Okay, I'm ahead of my nose. Prosecutor said Diddy was basically got the bone. The government said Diddy would gaslight Jane. She would tell him something. He would flip the story. Um, Then they talked about how Jane said she wanted $100,000 per year for the 3 years of the trauma that she experienced. And when they was talking about this, I was like, "Oh, you old gold digging asshole! What the hell?" See, people like Jane, you got to watch her. She gonna get with motherfuckers that got money, so she can. Oh, I don't want to be this. I don't want to be that. And then try to say they traumatized it. Oh, no, you have to pay me. They be stacking you. I'm trying to tell you. So. She said she felt like she was sexually exploited. She just felt like a whole bunch of stuff. Said Diddy reportedly forced Jane to take drugs and made her have oral sex with an escort. Says, and I'm like, girl, out of all these years, everybody been knowing all this stuff about Diddy. Y'all knew this stuff about Diddy. Y'all still win. Y'all still win. Y'all still, yeah. Oh my gosh. Said that Diddy gave Jane drugs every hotel night except for one. Okay. Um, then they said just because Jane consented to one commercial sex act does not mean she consented to all of them. So the jury gonna have to determine which one she consented to and which one she didn't consent to. But hopefully that's gonna open up a door for the defense because they gonna come in and say she consented to all of them. Okay, so she consented to all of them. And then they said the prosecution told the jury that they only have to find that one was illegal. Let's see. Then they talked about how Diddy tricked Jane to New York, promising her that it was going to be a romantic date or whatever. And while she was on the flight, he was on the phone booking a freak off. And he told Jane I had a surprise and all of that stuff. And she still went. And they kept on pointing out how Diddy would lie, how he would come up with these excuses, how he would say we're not going to do this, and how he would do that. And they would still go. Like, why are y'all still going? And this is all what this man is doing. Like, y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all are still going. It's so many beautiful women out here, and you know what I keep hearing them say? Girl, I wasn't there. I wasn't there. Keep going. Y'all got to stop acting like when y'all don't want to do something and you keep doing it psychologically. No, y'all didn't want to leave because y'all wanted Diddy's money. Y'all like what Diddy was doing for y'all. That's why y'all didn't want to leave. Let's keep it a band. Let's keep it a band. You didn't want to. Listen. Nobody had you stuck. Nobody had you, all up in this and all up in that, having you feel like you couldn't leave and forcing you to do nothing. Y'all saw that money. You wanted the money. You stayed there. You stayed there. So you put up with it. You put up with it. And then when you finally figured out that you weren't gonna get your way, you went and cried. Y'all got to stop this shit going on in America. But the prosecution is literally prosecution is I mean they are I mean they I'm gonna say they're doing a good job of making their case. Okay. um so at the end of the day, that's what it is. I'll keep y'all updated. I'm about to go get some food.